Good afternoon, everybody. It is Monday, June 8th, and we have hit the S's in my collection. A couple of little housekeeping notes before we start. First off, today's a very special anniversary. It's the 30th anniversary of the release of Step by Step album by New Kids on the Block. So to those of you that say I don't talk about crap music, there it is. Happy anniversary, New Kids. The other note is on my last video about Rush, I blew it with like one comment. I referenced that this album came with a live version of 2112, and I dropped the ball. I was on that instead. It was a came with the full re-release of 2112 a few years ago when Rush re-released it as a giant box set. I will come around to that again when I talk about Rush in the second part of my alphabetic journal, but for the time being, a little correction that cool 2112 didn't come out with a live version. So here's the first of three parts for my S's. Sesame Street Fever. This is definitely mine from when I was a kid. Features Sesame Street Fever by Robin Gibb, The Count, Grover, Ernie, and Cookie Monster. And then another one with Robin Gibb on side 2. And one more Sesame Street Christmas. Again, definitely mine from when I was a kid. It's even got my name on the back. Spyro Gyra. Band I kind of looked into a little bit. This. Sniffin' the Tears. I first heard about these guys on Q107. They used to play a song called Driver's Seat as one of their bumpers whenever they would talk about traffic. Pick this up. It's not on this album, unfortunately. Little dad rock, some Steely Dan. Again, more Steely Dan. I like Steely Dan. I mean, they kind of take their lumps when it comes to making fun of bands on dad rock or yacht rock or whatever you want to call it, but yeah, it's all good. Smashing Pumpkins 1979 features the vocal mix and instrumental, Moby mix on side 2, and the cement mix. Listen to it one time. I mean, it's not something I would pull out very often. Terry Sumption. This one is definitely my parents. Our Lovin' Place. Man, that has got to have been a early mid 80s backroads classic for a wedding. I find it fairly amusing that the fan club was located out of Tillsonburg, Ontario. Stray Cats, 2 of them. Rant and Rave, Built for Speed. These ones are definitely my dad's. I like Stray Cats quite a bit. I have a soft spot for rockabilly music. These guys were definitely doing rockabilly in the 80s when it wasn't very cool, but these guys made it cool as hell. They toured, I don't remember whether it was 2018 or 2019, and I had kicked tires on going to the show, but they never made it to Canada, so closest they got was Illinois, if my memory serves, so yeah, unfortunately didn't work out. Last one for today is Cat Stevens, T for the Tillerman. A while ago I was hanging out with my parents, and for whatever reason, Cat Stevens came to mind, and I used him as an example of an artist that I was familiar with. I knew their reputation, but an artist I had never dug into. And then from chatting about it with a coworker, he mentioned that if I was going to start anywhere with Cat Stevens, T for the Tillerman is definitely the right album. He couldn't have been more right. This is a fantastic album, and it is one that has very quickly become one of my very favorites. Of note, it was announced a few weeks ago that T for the Tillerman 2 will be coming out in, it's currently scheduled for September of this year, but who knows how that may end up. But what it is Cat Stevens is going to work with the original crew on this and rework the songs and re-release it in, again, later this year. So should be interesting to see how that turns out. I don't mean to sound like a Debbie Downer, but I feel like nothing will match this. This is quite a good album. So that's it for today. That is part 1 of 3 of S's, and we'll be back tomorrow with part 2. Have a great day, everyone.